What is up, guys? Today's video is a bit of a different one, but I thought it would be interesting just because of the experience that I've had. I definitely do not want this channel to be a dating channel or a dating advice channel. I'll keep this like a casual conversation between myself and you guys, or a bit of a monologue, but I'll keep it super casual. And I'll tell you guys, when I was 100% immersed in the dating market. I was highly successful using Tinder, and I've noticed that a large portion of men are not. And I'll give you some background, I'll give you some disclaimers to begin with because I want you to know that even if you don't think that you will be successful on Tinder, if you actually choose to pursue it and actually choose that you want to be successful on it, it's not that hard, to be honest. I am nothing special. I'm about 5'7" on a good day, probably with shoes on, definitely not tall. I have decent facial features, symmetrical, but I've had a lot of girls who've told me, "Oh, I usually go for a pretty boy look, or I usually go for good looking guys, or whatever." So definitely not like the typical super good looking guy at all in terms of facial features. And keep in mind, I'm also shorter than the vast majority of guys that they go out with. I do have very good social skills and social awareness and confidence. I do have that sort of locked down when it comes to social interactions. I do know what I'm talking like. I do know how to conversate, and it sort of flows naturally on my part, for the most part. And now for the disclaimer. This was all the backgrounds part. I did when I was going serious on it, and I wasn't engaged in too much work. I wasn't too busy. I wasn't going to work every day, all that type of stuff. I had a period of approximately 2 weeks where I went on somewhere close to 15 dates, and I slept with, or I, I hooked up, I guess, is the comment, is the more useful terminology. With I don't know what's acceptable on YouTube anymore, but anyway, I hooked up with at least 10 girls. Out of those 15 within a 2 week period, probably shorter than a 2 week period. I wasn't keeping count of it, but I think I hit 10 in a shorter than 2 weeks. And within one weekend, I hooked up with three new girls. And this isn't to brag, this is just to show you how easy this could be for the vast majority of guys. Now, a bunch of disclaimers here. Let me get into the disclaimers. And if this video is too long, then I would say fast forward approximately 7 minutes from here. But I'm not sure about that because I'm doing this off rip and I'm doing this without editing. So if this part does not interest you, then just fast forward or just move the thing on the bottom. Anyway, I definitely do not recommend this for the vast majority of guys. Okay, I am a guy who had already established my career. I had a lot of free time on my hand. I was super accomplished in terms of my finance. Not at the time, I wasn't super accomplished in terms of my finances, but I knew that I was getting a very good deal for the future. I was gonna be very good in terms of finances. I had a great a lot of great opportunities. Basically, what I'm trying to say is I had worked on myself as a man, and I had set myself up in a way where I wasn't worried about a bunch of other stuff, right? I wasn't worried about going on $100 date because I could afford that. I wasn't worried on going on the 200. Anything below a few $100s, I wasn't even concerned about. Like I would go into a store, not at that point, but I knew in the future that's how it would be because of how much money I'd be making. But I would go into a store, and right now I go into a store, and if anything is below a few $100, I don't even think about it as long as I like it. Like if I like something, it's below a few $100. I don't even think about it because it's not gonna make a dent. But anyway, this isn't about me. This is about me not recommending it to the vast majority of guys. I do not recommend this to the vast majority of guys because I don't think that sleeping with a bunch of women or hooking up with a bunch of women is the best use of your energy, right? I know a lot of guys have a high sex drive. I know this might sound like an appealing and interesting opportunity, and I get that. I get where you're coming from. And I get that that part of life, after you're done with it, is a lot less appealing than before you do it. You know what I'm saying? So, a lot of you guys, if you haven't done it yet, I understand the appeal of it. I do not recommend it for a lot of guys because you're going to be dealing with a lot more drama than you need to be dealing with. You're going to be dealing with a lot more texting than you need to be dealing with. You're going to be dealing with a lot more looking at your phone than you need to be dealing with. And to me, I suggest just focus on the gym, focus on your lifestyle, focus on other things to increase the quality of people in your life rather than just go around and hook up. But that being said, I will share with you how I did what I did and how I accomplished what I accomplished being a very average looking dude. The last point and last disclaimer that I'm going to make is if you do not want to study, if you don't want to study, if you don't want to spend money on Tinder, then you look for other options, in my opinion, unless you're a model looking guy, right? Because if you are not model looking and even if you are model looking, you need model looking pictures, right? You need a photographer to take model looking pictures of you. But if you're not model looking, then you got to spend some money. And by spending some money, because the Tinder algorithm is sort of set up in a way that it's going to go against you and it's going to waste your time a lot, right? Even if you're decent looking, even if you're above average looking, even if you're handsome, the Tinder algorithm as a man is going to go against you for the most part. So you might as well just spend some money, and then using that money, you should probably do Tinder Premium or Gold. I don't even know what it's called. Not super expensive, and if you're worried about the price of that, I would say focus on money first before focusing on this journey, right? And the reason I'm saying that is because it's going to save you so much time just doing the premium or whatever on Tinder. Because me hooking up with 10 girls within 2 weeks or less than 2 weeks is not something that is achievable for the vast majority of guys unless you are very efficient with your time when it comes to dating, right? And by efficient, I mean not swiping all day on and getting maybe 20 matches, and then out of these 20 matches, having to text and all that type of stuff. That's a waste of time. So if you do Tinder Premium, the strategy here is, and I don't know if I go into strategies later, I might, but anyway, the strategy is when you do Tinder Premium, the girls who like you, they already like you, and then you get your pick. You see the likes that you've already gotten. You don't need to keep swiping all day or whatever. Out of the girls who like you, you take your pick of the most attractive out of these girls, the most attractive 20 girls or whatever out of the, you're going to get 100 plus a lot of times, right? Especially if you use the boost feature. You got to use the boost feature at certain times in the afternoon, especially on a Friday afternoon, on Saturday afternoon, you get like 10 to 15, maybe even more, probably more. Likes, as long as everything else is okay in your bio and your pictures and all that stuff. You'll get like 10 to 15 to 20 likes, and out of those, you'll get like at least four that are at least average looking to decent, good looking girls. And then you can have your pick and go on dates and all that type of stuff. So that is basically the strategy. If you don't want to pay, then I would say just do cold approach or whatever. Like I said, this isn't a dating. YouTube channel, but I did want to share some wisdom with guys who are trying to look um, to have basically a better dating life, I guess, or a more busy dating life. Moving forward, what pictures? This is a question a lot of my dude friends ask me who are on Tinder, and they're like, "Oh, what should I put as pictures?" And in all honesty, I think this is what I did, and I think this helps a lot because a lot of guys just put like regular ass pictures, and they put pictures with like their friends, and they always have like one bad picture for whatever reason, and that one bad picture, a lot of girls will look for the opportunity to disqualify you based on that one bad picture because they're like, oh, this dude isn't that good looking. Boom, swipe left and just move on. Especially the girls who have a lot of options when it comes to these dating apps. So I'm not trying to make you scared of putting up pictures on your dating apps. So I would say this is the focus of a large portion of guys, and rightfully so, because a lot of the swipes are based on pictures, um, on visual attractiveness or whatever, visual attraction, I guess. Anyway, moving forward. So I would include a video. A lot of people look better in videos than they do in pictures. Especially if you include a video with like doing something cool, not necessarily like something overly cool. I feel like a lot of guys just like overcompensate with Tinder. And if you're in Miami or Vegas or whatever, especially like if you're in Miami, your location definitely matters, and that's something that I'll be going into later. A lot of dudes like post big videos on boats and stuff like that. You don't have to be on a yacht. You don't have to be in a Ferrari. Don't be try hard either, right? Don't be try hard. Just a simple, maybe if you're in somewhere with like a nice view, chilling with your pet. I had a video with my dog, just like calling him and just chilling with him. And there was a nice view behind me, or whatever you're doing, just like a wholesome, like cool video with your friends, barbecuing, having a nice in a nice area or whatever, like playing beer pong. The other thing is, if you are in the U.S., what I've noticed is a frat pick is super super helpful with all demographics of girls for whatever reason, right? Especially with younger girls, but with all demographics, even older girls, even girls who are in their 30s, 40s, a bit of muscle, especially biceps, goes a long way when it comes to that picture, the frat boy picture. Maybe a tank top, you opening a champagne bottle on the beach, you popping, you know what I'm saying? Like that type of thing, um, for whatever reason, appeals to a lot of women. And it might be the familiarity aspect of it, and it might be the vibes that they just find attractive. And I know vibes is such a broad term, but they're just willing to trust that picture, maybe because of popular culture or whatever. That type of dude they are interested in more than other dudes, and they're attracted to. And muscles definitely do not hurt. I'm not saying you need to be jacked or an Arnold Schwarzenegger. Just I'm very average when it comes to muscles, right? When it comes to biceps, but it helps to have like a bit of extra biceps. Another thing I've noticed is I got this tip from Jay Waller while I was watching some YouTube videos. For those of you who know Jay Waller, leave a like down or a comment or whatever. Anyway, I saw a Jay Waller video, and he said that he uses FaceApp, and it's basically, I believe it's called FaceApp. It's an application on the phone, or maybe it's called something else. I don't know. Anyway, it's an application on your phone where you just make yourself like a 1% look different, right? It just makes your face just a tiny bit more symmetrical, or it makes your jaw just a tiny bit more enhanced, you know? Nothing crazy. It looks almost exactly the same as you, but just a tiny bit better looking version of you. And I did use it for one of my pictures where I just had my face in that picture. And I don't usually post pictures where I just use my face in it, if that makes any sense. I usually have like my body and face, right? Like it's not super zoomed into my face, but this picture was super zoomed into my face. And I used the face app to enhance it a bit, and I posted it. And some girls were like super attracted to that picture, and I got comments on it, and it was kind of fascinating that they were so into it. I'm not saying it's a complete game changer, right? Um, for me at least, it did help. I'm not gonna lie or cap here because I just got to be honest with you guys, right? So the other thing is don't fake things. Like I said, like if you're in Miami or whatever, maybe it's a bit different. And I've noticed that like if every other guy has a picture on a boat and you're the only dude with a regular picture without boats or on a yacht or whatever, then maybe you're competing with a different demographic. And I have noticed that in Miami, I got a lot less success. I went to Miami for a few days during that period, had a lot less success than I did, at least on Tinder, than I did in other cities, right? In the smaller cities. And there are so many cities in the US. I'm not from Chicago, but I've noticed in Chicago you can get like a lot of really good matches for whatever reason. New York, for the most part, you can do pretty well, I've noticed. LA and Miami are probably like similar, but Miami is definitely a different beast for me at least. But anyway, don't fake things. Don't to go back on topic with the pictures. Like, don't have this watch like blinging and stuff like that, and the car behind you and all that type of stuff. For me, that did not. I didn't do that, but I've talked to a lot of girls, especially the girls who I went out with because of Tinder, and they're not into that stuff. A lot of them depends on the girl, obviously, but the girls who are going to be interested in you and not try to use you and all that stuff are not really swiping because of that stuff. And girls can sense a try hardness off of you, right? So if you're leading with your money, if you're leading with your car, all that type of stuff, and this is going to be contradictory to what I say later, but if you're leading with that, if that's the reason you're sparking the attraction initially on the app, if they're swiping right because you have a boat or because you have a Lamborghini or whatever, then it's probably not going to be the best. It's probably not going to be the best interaction. It's probably not going to be the best um, use of your time. It's not the most efficient way to use it. All right, don't act. Just be yourself. Be genuine and be yourself, and just post yourself in a good light, but not a fake one either. Your bio for the most part. I'm gonna start from top to bottom in this slide, not go off topic. Including funny and playerish slash cheeky quotes is super interesting and super fun for a lot of girls. And I noticed that when I did that, um, I wouldn't say it boosted up like my likes or whatever on the Tinder Premium thing significantly, but it definitely did help a bit, right? And the bio is probably not as important as the pictures, right? If you need quotes for your bio, I would say look up some interesting or fun, how do you call it, shows where the main character is quote unquote a player or has playerish vibes. Or even look up some YouTube videos. I would say some dating dudes or whatever have a lot of these like quotes that they post. Some of them are hit or miss. Some of them are cringe. Some of them are weird. I would just like keep it just funny. And I noticed not only the not only did I get more likes, but I got prettier or better looking people liking my thing when they noticed that I wasn't super try hard and wasn't super serious about this thing, right? You don't want to be serious. Most girls are just playing around with Tinder. They're just having fun with Tinder, and they're not even looking for anything serious. They're just getting their validation and having fun with it. And you want to be the same. You want to make it very, very clear that you care less than they do, right? So players, cheeky coats help for Tinder, and nothing too serious or boring or whatever. These lists of boring things that people post about themselves. Oh, I'm looking for this, and I like this, and I like that. I like long walks on the beach, and I like my proteins, and I like hitting the gym, and all that type of stuff. Listen, dude, if you like hitting the gym, your biceps are gonna show in your frat boy pic or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So like, don't make this too serious. The bio part, don't make it too serious. Make it joking, and make it clear that you're not really taking it serious. Because a dude who hooks up with a lot of girls, or a dude who um, just has fun with life, is not gonna post anything serious, too serious on Tinder, right? If you try hard, that's gonna disqualify you for a lot of these people. And then for whatever reason, there's been studies on this, and I didn't know about this until later, but I am super good in my field, right? I am on the higher end in my field. And I've noticed that when I post my education or my job, um, I get a lot of girls within my field or within my setting that are there. And my friends who are higher in their jobs and they get paid well or compensated well for what they do, when they're an authority figure in that job, whatever it is, even if you're an influencer, right? Even if you're a YouTuber or whatever, and you have a million subscribers, right? Or let's say you have 100,000 subscribers. Girls below 100,000 subscribers are going to be interested in you. And girls with 500,000 subscribers are going to be less interested in you. So the higher you are as an authority within that niche market or within your field, you're going to get so many girls within that field. And it's super interesting because I kept getting the same like occupation of girls because they are within sort of my field and they know they sort of not respect, I want to say, like are attracted to the authority figure within that field for whatever reason. That being said, I didn't end up going on dates with a lot of them. I tend to like to diversify the people I go out on dates with. I don't want to talk about like my work and stuff like that. But anyway, moving forward. So that's the bio part. So we covered the pictures and the bio part, and this is the boring part, guys. All right. So my strategy when it comes to matching, location matters, like I mentioned earlier. Like in Miami, I did not do well at all the few days I was there. I did a lot better in quote unquote smaller cities. You got to be in a city setting, but um, you got to have a lot of options too. You can't be like in a small town in whatever, in Ohio or in whatever. So location does matter. Paying for premium, like I mentioned earlier, save your time, save your money, because if you have like a decent job or whatever, those extra hours, allocate them to work, allocate them to accumulating resources or accumulating skills or whatever. Don't allocate them to swiping on Tinder, right? So pay for premium, whatever it is, $20, $30, whatever it is, pay for that, and then the girls who like you, take your pick out of them, and the ones you don't like, just ignore. The ones you like, swipe right on them, and they already liked you. They already showed an interest, and it's much easier going from there rather than convincing some girl or trying to find the girl who liked you and all that stuff. So just focus on that. Boosts, like I mentioned earlier, Friday afternoon, Saturday evening, a lot of girls are just swiping on Tinder. Pay for boosts, and you will get your profile will show to a lot more people, especially around your area, and you'll get about 20 girls on Friday nights, Saturday evenings, Friday evenings. You'll get a lot of girls who like your profile, especially if you're within that setting. You want about 100 plus women in your likes, which you will get if you have decent pictures, decent bio, and you're paying for this stuff, because you want to take your pick of about the 20, 25 that you are really attracted to, because you don't want to just hook up with whoever. That being said, in the beginning, for some people, I'm not gonna lie, I sort of did that as well. The first weekend that I started this sort of being promiscuous or whatever thing, I just hooked up with three random chicks that I was not, two of them at least, I was not super attracted to, right? Now they weren't super bad looking, but I just hooked up with them just to get the ball rolling, and they were interested in hooking up, and they just wanted something physical, and I'm like, all right, whatever, let's just do it. And that sort of helps because you know that you have girls that you can hook up with. If you go on a date later on with the third girl who you're more interested in, you sort of know that you have other girls that you can fall back on, so you're not super nervous or super tense or whatever. Um, but yeah, I did sort of get the ball rolling with hooking up with a few, two, maybe two out of the 10 girls that I wasn't super attracted to. Now, text strategy is important, even if the girl liked you. For the most part, if they liked you on Tinder, they're gonna be receptive to your texts for the most part. But at the same time, it's still up to you to sort of pique interest or catch attention when it comes to that. And you're gonna say some stuff, and unfortunately, in today's dating world, this is super unfortunate. But they get so many "Hey, beautiful" or whatever nice texts that they do not like to respond to those texts. And it's super weird, right? Because they just get too many of those that they're like, oh, whatever. They got their validation, whatever, right? Whereas if you say something that sparks their interest or sparks their question mark, like, oh, whoa, what is that? And if you do that, then they're much more likely to respond and initiate a conversation, or the conversation can flow from there. And sometimes the things you say are not necessarily it's super weird, because the thing you say in the beginning, and if you guys want to know lines or whatever, just text in the comments below, because I can include them, but I'm not sure I want to share that much information. But if you guys are super interested, just let me know in the comments below, because I feel like this video might not get seen too much. So if it's not and you guys don't care, whatever. Anyway, so you text something in the beginning and it catches their interest, and it's not necessarily offensive. It's not like you're cursing their mom or whatever. It's not like super out there or whatever. It's just like some random thing, and like green shirt or whatever. Not that specifically, but whatever. You say something that sort of intrigues their interest. And a lot of these girls, just because you did not 100% simp for them and 100% say, oh, hey, beautiful, or whatever, they're going to be sort of calling you out and sort of aggressive about it and sort of offended by it just because you weren't like super simpish towards them. And this is the second point. Never, ever, ever apologize, because there is a game being played when it comes to that. Those girls who sort of get offended and they try to reel you into an apology, right? They will use whatever tactics they can, whatever psychological tactics to get you to apologize. And as soon as you do apologize, I made that mistake once, maybe 5 years ago, and I learned from that one mistake. And that's something you guys need to learn from your experiences. You need to pick up on the things that are going on psychologically and sociologically and in conversations with other human beings. And I picked up on it, and this girl just like kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and she was interested, right? And she kept pushing for the apology, and I kept ignoring it, and she kept pushing. And by the end of it, I'm like, all right, let me apologize for this thing. And I apologized, and I kind of simped at the same time. And boom, immediately she flipped. Like she just like flipped, and she's like, all right, I'm not gonna talk to you anymore. Boom, boom, whatever, and she disappeared. And I learned from that experience, and I know that these girls, they want you to apologize so that they can get their validation and get out of there. And it's a really horrible state of mind to be living in. And unfortunately, these are the times that we're living in with a lot of human beings who are on a lower vibration, unfortunately, which is why I do not recommend Tinder for dating, because this is something that I realized later is a lot of these people you're getting are starting out at least with a low vibration. I'm not saying you guys can't raise the vibration together, and I know I'm speaking a bit like woo-woo or whatever, but they're starting out with a low mental sort of state. They're starting out with a low view on life, and you can date them and raise that and help them out and all that stuff, but you sort of want to aim for higher quality people, and they don't tend to be on dating apps. Including myself, I stopped going on dating apps because the quality just isn't the best, and amongst other reasons that I'll talk about later. But anyway, never apologize, right? Say something, catch their interest. If they get offended or whatever, just humor or ignore, and move on. Humor or ignore and move on, and do not validate them by saying I apologize, especially if you don't mean the apology. Never apologize for something you don't if you don't mean the apology, no matter how much pressure you're under. Never apologize. All right. So yeah, keep it funny and light. And then at the end of it, you always offer the text, right? You always offer your number. Hey, hey, whatever. Just something light. You're super pretty or whatever. Even if it's a compliment. After that, many texts. Hey, if you want to hit me up, this is my number. That's what I used to do, without the pretty part or whatever. And I used to include like some funny nicknames or whatever in there. But anyway, hey, just hit me up on this number if you want to hang out sometime. Boom, leave your number. The vast, vast, vast majority of them will text you on that number, and they'll either text their name or they'll text something witty. If they're super interested, some of them will text something witty. I had a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful girl, and I dropped it, and I'm like, usually I don't get like tense about these situations, but I did with her because she was gorgeous, and she texted me something witty. She's like, whatever. And I responded to it, and we set up a date. And it's always try to set up the date from the phone number, because for whatever reason, it's more intimate once you have each other's phone numbers. It's more real when you have each other's phone numbers. Even for us guys, I feel like it's more real when you have the phone number rather than texting on some app. And then moving on to phone texting, you set up the date immediately. She's gonna hit you up with something, and you're gonna be like, "Hey, what's up?" Da, 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 and you set up the date almost immediately. You set up the day, the time, and the place. And if she argues about the place, or even the day and the time, it's okay to be somewhat flexible. And I am flexible for the most part, and I haven't had any issues with that. As long as you're free, you're actually free, then you can sort of negotiate that. No need for like these long texts, and a lot of girls, they like to, not a lot, some girls, maybe about 20% less, maybe 10% from Tinder, they like to sort of push you into these long texting situations because they want to get to know you and whatever and all that stuff. And you got to be like blunt with it, especially if you're a busy dude, especially if you have your stuff together. You got to be blunt with it. You got to be like, hey, listen, like I can't spend my whole time texting with someone I don't really know. If you want to get to know each other, the best way is to actually meet up and get to know each other, because I don't have time to be texting someone, like, especially if I don't know you like that. Very clear and very concise. And if they're not into it, they're not into it. But the vast majority are into it. So moving on, the actual day, dude. The actual day, so many people mess up the date. So many people mess up. So many dudes mess up the date. Just have a normal conversation. Hey, what do you do? Oh, but oh, my friend does this. Oh, I've been to this country. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, da, da. So many examples of things you can talk about. So many, and then just be interested in them and in their lives and all that stuff. I am just naturally when I meet a person, especially when I'm in that vibe where like I'm trying to meet people. When I meet a person, I am genuinely, I'm not trying to get anything out of them. I'm not trying to hook up. It's not like the whole purpose is, oh, if we don't hook up, then I don't care about the date. No, I want to enjoy the date by being interested in the person and interested in what they're doing with their lives. I'll ask so many questions about their lives, and people love to talk about themselves, and that's awesome because you get to live so many different lives through meeting people, to me at least. That's how I view it. But anyway, that's a discussion for another time. So, and then also express yourself and go first, right? Go first. Like if you think you want to compliment her on something, go first. Just compliment. You don't have to like hold your cards tight to your chest. Just talk and be normal and compliment. Hey, you have beautiful eyes, and move on with the conversation. Don't dwell on the compliment, or don't like try to get a compliment out of her back or any of that stuff. Just say what you want to say and move on, right? As long as it's not like super creepy or weird or whatever. Just say it like, oh, you have beautiful eyes. Oh, you have beautiful facial features. Like that's kind of weird if they don't like you, but just move on after and just say what you like and about her and just move on. Oh, I like girls who are like this. Oh, I'm interested in this topic. Oh, da, 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 whatever. Um, and then after about an hour of having just casual conversation, you would be surprised about how many of these girls would be down to going to your place, especially if you have a place that's close by to where the date is, or going to their place. And um, that is the part where you make the move verbally for them. Yeah, verbally. I mean, sometimes you can go for a kiss at some point or whatever, but I do not recommend it. Just verbally make the move. Like, say, hey, would you like to come to my place? I have a nice view of the city. You want to check it out and have a glass of wine or whatever. And it is shocking to me. At the time, I didn't even think about it, but it's shocking to me how many girls would go to a guy's place on the first date. And if I were a girl, I would not do that now because like I've heard so many weirdo stories and seen like all these weirdo documentaries and did not think about it at the time at all because just trusted people a lot more at the time. And this was a few months ago, not that long ago. But I just trusted people so much more and I just had like, oh, people are good type of mentality. But anyway, these girls will come to your place on a date. Some girls will say no, and then I've had this a beautiful girl basically. I went out on a date with her and she's like, "Oh no, I work tomorrow." And I said, "All right, cool, no problem." And then she texts me her address and I'm like, "You want me to come over?" And she said, "Yeah." And then I go to her place. And once you go to their place or once they come to your place or whatever, you always let them initiate intimacy, right? And you always during intimacy, if there's anything weird or anything off, you always back off immediately. And if they back off at any point for whatever reason, not even during intimacy, even if you're talking or whatever, and for whatever reason they move away from you, you move away even more, right? That is what you do, and that is the best way to do it, and that is the right thing to do. And this isn't a moral or ethical thing. This is a legit. This is how you need to do it. All right. I don't know why they don't tell men more often these things. This is real life advice. This is what you do, okay? You move away. If she moves away, you move away more, right? And that's the best way to do it. But anyway, you always let her initiate intimacy. If you want to just like put your hand over her shoulder, that's cool. If she's uncomfortable, you move away immediately, right? That's pretty much the most you will do. And that's the most I did. I did not even do that, to be honest. Well, maybe once we're watching a movie and I put my hand around her or something like that. But the rest of the girls, yeah, almost all of them, probably all of them, they were the ones who basically grabbed my hand and took me to the bedroom. right? They grabbed my hand and they pulled me to the bedroom, and that's how it is. Okay, you let them. When it comes to that part, you let them make the move. Okay, and if it doesn't work out, if they don't make the move, then fine, whatever, move on to another girl who will make the move. That part, I am not. Um, I'm not risking anything when it comes to that part. They 100% have to do everything uh, because I don't want them to. I don't want any regret. I don't want any um, points where there's like been any miscommunications or any of that stuff. They make all the moves. They make all the all the moves when it comes to that part. Disclaimer is I do not recommend this. I did hook up with 10 women within less than 14 days. I did hook up with a lot more than that over a period of few months. Um, and I know a lot of people who will say like, "Oh, it's really tough to hook up with more than two women in a month," or something like that. And it boggles my mind because if you're doing it right, especially using these dating apps, it's so easy to hook up with people. But I do not recommend it, right? I had my fun phase, all that type of stuff. Dealing with women is definitely not the best use of your time, especially dealing with multiple women. You will, there's a lot of stuff about it. For the most vast majority of men, promiscuity is not the best option, right? Because you will go and have experiences and go places and all that type of stuff, and then that person will disappear completely from your life, and now you don't have as sentimental and silly as this sounds, you don't have anyone to recall these experiences with, right? They'll disappear from your life. And now, like, you had these awesome experiences with this woman on one or two dates or whatever. And now you can't go back and be like, oh, hey, I had this memory. And that's something, to me, at least, that matters. But more importantly than that, you listen, dude, going on hanging out with 10 different women and texting 10 different women and spending all your time texting and all that stuff, not recommended, dude. Just go to the gym, go to a fighting gym, get a six pack, much better return on investment than texting a bunch of girls and having a bunch of girls that you're hanging out with. Furthermore, when you're hanging out with a lot of these women, you got to be honest from the beginning about what you're looking for. You got to make it clear because some of them will even ask you straight up, right? And I know that goes against the advice of some of these like dating people or whatever that you can't be like 100% honest. And I'm not saying be crude about it. Just be like, oh, hey, listen, I'm sort of like exploring my options at this point. Oh, hey, listen, I'm sort of like not in the mindset where I'm looking for anything super serious, all that type of stuff. If the girl likes you enough, especially if it's through a dating app, they're not going to care too much about that. They're just not going to care and they're still going to hook up. That being said, if you introduce them into your life, let's say you hook up with a girl, right? And you introduce them into your lifestyle or into your life, and you have a cool lifestyle. A lot of these girls, even if you've told them 20 or 30 times and you keep reminding them, hey, nothing serious is going to happen. Hey, nothing serious is going to happen. Hey, I'm not looking for a girlfriend. I'm just looking for someone to hang out with. All that type of stuff. If they like your lifestyle, for whatever reason, they are going to keep assuming that they can sort of convince you to make them your girlfriend or convince you to make them your wife. And once you break it off, or once you move on, or once you start texting less because you met some other girl that you enjoy hanging out with more, or whatever, they're going to get bitter and they're going to create drama. And that is why I do not recommend this whole like promiscuity, especially if you're a dude who's high status. You don't want to be dealing with like girls who are in a different sort of mindset than yourself, because like I mentioned earlier, a lot of these girls are not like the some of these girls, let me rephrase, some of them are awesome, and most of them that I met are really cool human beings and really awesome. But when it comes to a sort of experience and having a high level state of consciousness where you're looking at the world in a way um, where you're sort of, I don't know, I don't want to be too self-righteous, but you're looking at the world in a way where like you're ambitious and you're looking to get better and looking to improve and looking for criticism, constructive criticism, and all that type of stuff. A lot of these girls, they're not sort of, they're not in that mindset. They're not looking for criticism. They're looking for an easy life. They're looking for a guy who's going to take care of them and introduce them into his lifestyle and be all these things for her. And she's not concerned about what she can do for the dude at all. So once you move on from these girls, they're going to create drama because for whatever reason they feel entitled just because you guys hooked up a few times. And especially if you showed them an aspect of your lifestyle, which is cool, right? If you introduce them to like some cool friends, or if you go someplace which is cool, or if they find out that you basically it's easy for you to do cool things like travel and all that type of stuff, they will sort of feel entitled, like they're supposed to. They feel backstabbed when you're like, all right, I'm spending more time with a different girl than I am with you. They sort of feel hurt by it and they will create drama. And I don't like drama in my life and I don't like wasting my time on these things. So just make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. I do not recommend it for the vast majority of men. I recommend you focus on other things, on more productive things. I recommend you get um, one girl who you are interested in, and I recommend you hold her to, and yourself, you hold yourself and her, and you hold the relationship to a high standard. And if there's any breaking of those standards, then you just break off the relationship, which is cool, right? So those are my recommendations, and that is what I would do different. I probably would not go on this whole thing, or at least limit it, or at least do it a bit differently in terms of hanging out less and texting less with girls and all that type of stuff. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this was helpful, and peace out.